Peace, love, and light, everyone. I hope all is well. This is your girl, Serena Wills, and welcome to Poetry, Publishing, and Literary Artistry. For those who don't know who I am a self published author. I have four poetry books under my belt. I am also a poet, spoken word artist, a health and wellness writer, and a publishing coach. And today's segment, we are going to return to editing. So if you missed our editing lessons, I encourage you to go back to earlier episodes through Indie Soup Media and look for parts 1 and 2 of editing. I decided to chop it up into 3 parts because editing is a crucial part of your book. So we talked about some of what you want to look for in an editor, how to find an editor, just to do a little recap for you. The different things that editors are going to do, especially when you're a self published author. We're looking for an editor that's going to look at a few areas altogether versus a publishing house that has an editor for each area. So today we are picking up on part 3 and what to do after the first round of edits comes back. So we talked about how this is a part of your book that you really have a really good relationship with your editor. You want a good partnership with them. You want an editor that's going to capture your voice while doing the edits. And someone asked me in a class that I teach called Self Publishing 101, which I'll talk about after this. And what do you mean by you want someone capturing your voice? So this is your book. So whether you're a poet, fiction writer, nonfiction, it could be any kind of book, children's book, for example. You want to make sure that whoever is editing your book, flushing it out, doing line by line edits, that they are doing so, but still keeping your voice intact. You want them to edit your book, and when you read through the book, it looks like what you did, write the entire book. But with an editor's touch, of course, when they do their edits, people will not be able to tell, and they will see and hear your voice through the book. Uh, Another way to say this is some people who have had edits done, you can tell their voice and you could tell when someone else chimed in to put in other words or another line. It doesn't flow. It doesn't sound like you. Okay, for example. So we want to make sure that when you find that editor, that they will capture your voice. All right. So after the first round of edits, your editor will send you back the manuscript. And now it's your turn to take their edits and work through your book. Yes, this is it's a unique dance. You're kind of dancing together doing this. So they do the first round, they're going to send it back to you. And I read through from line 1, page 1, all the way through to see where the edits were made. And for example, someone asked me, can you give us an example of how they will send that back to you? I use a Word document. And in Word, there is, of course, track changes and comments. So you can see the track changes that were made. And then a great editor will write the comments inside of the documents. You can see why they wrote or why they took out a line, why they put in something, why they took out that word, why they replaced the word. They will tell you the why. So, for example, you may need to do more character development for your book. If you have characters, if it's fiction, even if it's nonfiction, you may have to develop the character more, show versus tell, move things around, flush out poems in my case. I'm a poet. So sometimes I have to do a little flushing, like, Serena, what did you mean by that line? Can you tell me more? Um, can we try to show a bit more in this line? Then send it back for round two. And then sometimes it'll be a round three. We talked about contracts in the last episode or two. And depending on your contract with your editor, of course, you need more than one round. Some do two rounds, some will do three. If for some reason there's a lot of back and forth and it goes beyond the rounds of edits that were agreed on in the contract, then you're going to have to ask for an amendment to your contract, which also means more money. Okay, so the more rounds, we agreed to these rounds, but now you're adding another round. Let's say you agreed to three rounds and now there needs to be a round four. Then there needs to be an amendment, and then you need to talk money with your editor. So you're doing this back and forth, and then with that, there is a timeline. We talked about this in the last episode or two with timeline. This is with any contract you have, any agreement. You want to have a timeline in there. So within the first 6 weeks, I will send back the first round of edits. Within the first whatever weeks, and then I will send it back to you, and then it'll be another timeline. Then please send it back to me within this amount of time, and then it will take me this amount of time to get it back to you. This way, you will know when they will start and when an editor will finish, and when you will have an estimated date or close to it of the complete edited project. Do not have a contract with an open timeline, because you're basically saying, yeah, you could edit my book, but I didn't tell you a timeline. So they can take their time. They could take all year if they want to, or 2 years. You want to make sure your contracts have a timeline. So it is okay during this process to cry, weep, or scream, okay, when you see the number of edits that have been made. It's okay to go through the edits page by page and to take your time. Please just breathe. The one thing you don't want to do, what I did with my first book. Now, I have four poetry books that are published, but I have a fifth book that is already edited. It's my fiction book. Aha, I'm a fiction writer. I told you. And I got it back. And ironically, that fiction book was edited before my first poetry book. That's a whole story in itself. I'm going to have to come back and do story time. Why did the fiction book not come out first? It wasn't supposed to. I went through the whole manuscript to see how many edits there were, and I should not have done that. Nope, don't do that. One page at a time. One page at a time. And I did that with my then first poetry book, Reconstruction. When I got the edits back, I said, okay, look at the first page, second page, and so on and so forth until I got through the entire book. Just breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Do some deep breathing techniques. Meditate if you need to. Pray. If you're a prayerful person, it is okay. After your book is completely edited, then read through it yourself to see if there are any lingering glitches. So now the editor has gotten back the next round. They send it back. All right, Serena, this is it. Let me know if there's any little glitches or any. There should be nothing, but if there's anything minor that I didn't catch, let me know. But you want to read through your book in its entirety. You need to be you will learn to be very comfortable with your book after this. It's like, okay, I'm reading my book for how many times now? But you want to make sure, because once your book is published and it's out there in the world, it's going to be hard to take it offline, take it off the shelves, and do some editing. No, and that has happened. It has happened. And how has it happened? Because some authors do not get professional editing. Oh, I'm a great writer. I don't need a professional editor. Or my friend says they're an editor and they can do it. And there are still glitches. There's still things in there that doesn't make sense. There's still grammatical errors, misspellings. I have seen it. Yes, I have. So once you now do all of this, drum roll, and you're like, all right, the green light, everything looks great. My book is reading fantastic. I've already talked to my beta readers. Okay, that's a whole other segment. We'll talk more. I'll bring back the second part of beta readers. And they already read it before it went to the editor, got their feedback in there. This looks all fantastic. Now I'm going to take the manuscript and I'm going to pass the torch because your manuscript is a document still. It doesn't look pretty yet. And now we are going to format the book. And that is now called typesetting, where you give it to a graphic designer, someone who knows how to typeset the book. That's how you get your borders in there. You're going to get your page numbers. You may have your name on the side or a pretty, something on the top. Or this is where the book is now going to start to come to life. And the next time you see it, it's going to flip and read like a page. I mean, a page, a book. You just flip it page by page. But it's an exciting time, but the editing process does take um, a good a good amount of time. You want your editor to take their time, and you want to make sure contract is right, the agreement is right, your book is reading fine before you go to the next step, which is typesetting. All right, so that is this step for today. It says step 5. Why does it say step 5 on the top of the screen? Because I teach a self-publishing 101 class, 101, the foundation. And I will be teaching a class virtually on Thursday, November 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I invite you. It is free. Like, did she say free? Yes, it is free. It is sponsored by Alexandria Public Libraries, and you just have to sign up. So information is after this. So I hope to see you, and you will learn the steps it takes to self-publish a book. And this is step 5 in the class. All right, so that is my time for today. You can check me out on social media at Divine Right, DivineWryte. Divine Right is my spoken word stage name. It's also the name of my health and wellness practice. That's a whole other hat I wear. And I hope to see you in the next segment. And take this all in, and I encourage you to go back and look at the first couple of segments on editing so you can put it all together. All right, so take good care, many blessings, and one love. Bye for now.